Mm. Good morning. It's Tuesday. I'm going to come on live with Christina as we do. Very excited. Welcome, Cynthia. Hi.
Hi, babe. Did you sleep well last night?
Uh,
I was up till 4 a.m.
okay, so I was also up till 4 a.m. That's weird.
It's not okay, is what it
It's
is.
not okay. But I've been reading to
Well, at least
escape.
you were being more productive. I was just tossing and turning around in my bed. But I had done computer
Yeah,
work.
no, I've been reading.
I had done computer work until like midnight. So I did a whole bunch of things on my website last night.
That's
But
exciting.
yeah, but then I went upstairs to go to bed and girl, toss and turn till like 4 a.m. Not okay. Not okay.
Not okay.
How's the weather
No,
over there? Are you gloomy over there?
it's it's gray. I got my heart sunglasses to invite the sun. I don't know if it'll come today. I know the weather is meant to be kind of
Yeah.
gloomy this week a little bit.
I don't think the sun's visiting me today.
Yeah.
I'm gonna light up
So,
the incense today.
yeah, right? It's a
That's good.
uh
This one's called Reiki Energy. So put out a little Reiki Energy incense.
do you make your own incense? Oh no. You're frozen in time. Here you are.
I have to remember to put my phone on Do Not Disturb when we do these things
Yeah.
because
Hi,
it doesn't matter.
Marilyn.
I could go 5 days with no phone calls, but the moment you and I get online, I've got 4 or 5 phone calls coming in.
Totally.
Ready?
That's how this works sometimes.
Yeah. All right,
Uh,
babe. Whew. Hello, Marilyn.
so, yeah, this week is, you know, this week is just one hit after another, I feel like.
One sleepless
My
night
energy, yeah,
after.
like I haven't slept well.
I know.
My energy is kind of like, what's up?
I know.
And the the homeschool thing is not well this week. I don't think my daughter has done much at all. I have tiny spiders birthing everywhere around my patio as well. They just keep dropping on me from everywhere. It's the tiny ones.
Look, I love spiders. I absolutely love spiders. But when they drop on me, that's not okay. Because all I can think of is them building webs in my hair. That's all I can think of.
Yeah. So I mean, we have plenty of spiders, but I always just try and not kill them.
Oh, of course. Of
But
course.
I try to there's one right now, like trying to make a web on my stand. It's like, dude, this thing is gonna move. This is baby spiders are not that smart. Unfortunately, they're just like, they don't get it. They haven't figured it out, which is fine. But yeah.
What do we have coming up? We have grandmother moon coming up, and then we have new moon in Gemini coming up on the 22nd.
Yes, on Friday.
Yeah.
Friday's the new moon.
I know. I am You're doing a circle, right?
Yeah, I have circle at 8 p.m.
Okay. I have
Yeah.
been collecting moon water this whole time for my new sprays. So,
Lovely.
oh my God, the
The
thing
only things
will
I will
kill
kill are cockroaches and
wasps.
wasps. Progress.
I
I
have to say, I agree.
I add. Yeah, I mean, I'll add earwigs to the list. Earwigs are one of the. I don't know if you guys have earwigs in Texas, Maryland.
What's an earwig?
Well, how lovely for you to have never met one. Oh, I have my phone case here on my table, so I was about to
You were
Google
gonna
it and
look
show
it
you a
up.
picture. But I'm looking at my phone.
Dude, I have to tell you a story really quick, okay? Yesterday I was recording for my members on my page. So I do like a members Monday message on my page, right? And normally I forget to do it until like fucking Thursday. And I always have to apologize to my members. But yesterday I did it on time. And I was like, oh, I know the new moon. I think it's going to be in Gemini, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, where's my phone right now? Where's my phone? And I was looking around. I literally got up and looked for my phone. And then I came back and I was like, oh my God, my phone's fucking, I'm recording on my phone.
I'm recording on my fucking phone. Yeah. So there's that. Yeah. If you've been experiencing time warps, and or other things, you know, just a good like little reminder, we're in retrograde season, and you know our brains are dynamic beings. So yeah, I mean last week we had all three, you know, we had Saturn and Venus and Jupiter all go retrograde, which is a good thing. I mean, it's like this party of
change.
Yeah, it's really trying to get us to see how it's going for us.
For sure.
So, and then this new moon in Gemini is, you know, of course, right really by that retrograde. Because Venus is retrograding through Gemini. So the sun's going to enter Gemini on tomorrow, I think, on the 20th. And then bum bum ba da dun dun dun. What's today? What's today? Yes,
today's the 19th.
On the 20th. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so tomorrow, the 20th, the sun moves into Gemini, and then that new moon will happen on Friday. At like 10:30 in the morning for us on the Pacific Northwest. And you know, new moons in Gemini are really, they're asking us to communicate with, you know, that that part of ourselves that needs new language, that wants to communicate the truth. And Mercury is getting ready to go retrograde next month. So, you know, it's zooming now. It's going to zoom through Gemini, get into Cancer, and then go retrograde.
Well, I'm thinking with moon going into Gemini, sun going into Gemini, Venus in retrograde into Gemini. Yes, those are all intellect. It's that communication, especially with Venus in retrograde in Gemini, and you have all that other Gemini energy. I would say be very aware of how it is you're speaking, because you may not be very nice when you speak. And so I think that is a really important thing to point. And some people may very well understand what you're saying, especially when you say fuck off. So, you know,
I say it with all the love and light that I can, but
fuck off.
Fuck off. For respectfully. Yeah, I mean, this is not energy to argue over the internet with. You know, not that there's any energy that says like, please argue on the internet. But
please express your
but you
opinion
definitely
wildly on the internet all the time. Yeah.
But it's definitely, we're being asked to really question beliefs, question patterns, question stories. If you're feeling triggered and like that person, you know, notice who you need to get approval from and before you speak, and really
Maybe
be real with yourself.
walk away. Get up and walk away and go take a damn breath.
Yeah.
Go let that air element fill up your lungs for a minute and bring some oxygen back into the body.
Yes. Indeed. So, and you know, and the other lovely thing I think with Venus and Gemini, what comes up for me is music. You know, letting music kind of soothe you. So finding music that can really help you soothe yourself. The sound is so terrible on my end. I don't know what happens, but I don't know if people can hear that.
It's a bit grainy, but I can hear you okay. Your audio's coming through okay for me.
Yeah. It just sounds like it's like feedback. It's weird. It only happens when
with music, it's fabulous because music can bring that calm and it can bring that mental excitement. And like, I love listening to, I have this not a soundtrack, but it's a playlist on Spotify called Witchy Vibes. And I listen to it as I'm doing my writing. And it really like feeds my mind, you know? And then another thing I would say to do during this Venus retrograde in Gemini is to just watch some romance movies. Get some love in that heart.
I know. Well, that's the books that I'm reading are like kind of, you know, they're these, my sister-in-law gave me this, it's called the Graceling series. It's probably like meant for teens, to be honest. But it's like, you know, romance about these kind of witchling people who could read minds or have like these graces. They call them grace. Anyways, it's very fascinating. I stayed up very late last 2 nights reading. And yeah, and I usually listen to music while I read. Which then like later I can listen to that music and it like reminds me of the story. It's like my favorite.
When I read, I find that I can't listen to music with words. Like I have to listen to like spa music when I read, you know, because I can't have, I've already got so many conversations going on in here. I can't have more going on in here while I'm trying to help.
I can actually, I found that like, and I think I practiced this when I used to ride the train, but I can totally listen to full on like music that I already know the words to. But if it's new music, not so much. But yeah, if I know the words to the music, then it can go to the background for me, which is cool.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. So what we wanted to talk today about was, you know, this disseminating moon, the last quarter moon time. It's really the last quarter of the last quarter.
Yeah.
And so it's, you know, it's crone time. I started bleeding yesterday.
Yeah, I know. I told you
I'm
on the same cycle as my dog now. So yeah.
Yeah. Your dog's bleeding. You're bleeding. I'm bleeding. Shark Week, my friend calls it. And
that's awesome.
She's like, I know. I was like, that is apt. And you know, the energy of this week moving into this new moon, especially during retrograde season, we're moving into eclipse season as well. The full moon of this cycle will be an eclipse in Sagittarius. And So we're closing up some portals. And really, the lunar nodes have shifted to Gemini, Sagittarius. So the other thing that's going on is that we are experiencing the shifts of those nodes. It's like the changing of the guard. So Gemini, with all that energy in it, right? With the sun in there, Venus retrograding in there, the new moon in there, you know, we're getting this initial sense this year with its new moon of all this energy in Gemini. And so pay attention to where Gemini is in your chart. Pay attention to how it makes you feel, what it does do to your communication. Does it make it better? Does your brain get clearer? Does it cause some issues? It can definitely cause communication breakdown in relationships, depending on where it is in your chart.
Right.
It can bring in a real urgency to feel like you have to have that conversation that you've been meaning to have, or that you've been having in your mind over and over again with that person that you actually need to speak to in real life.
Yeah.
So the downloads that you have during this new moon time on Friday, and really the portal of it, you know, begins Thursday and will end on Saturday. It's a good 3 days always.
Yes, always.
But finding out this, you know, these next couple days, what you need to really let go of, right? Like we wanted to kind of talk about maybe the way that the full moon's treated in moon phase work, but really this last week, this last piece of the moon cycle is really where you let it all go.
Is that your smoke alarm?
No, I have a wind chime.
That's it. So
okay,
let's,
like,
I say,
that is the most pleasant smoke alarm ever. It's like, I
say let's talk
your
about
house is burning down. Get out. Sorry.
Get out.
Get out.
Let's talk about first let's talk about how people practice the full moon, because you and I were talking about this yesterday, and I love the way that I see people practicing the full moon. I really, really do.
Yes.
And there is no right or wrong way. If your practice is your practice, that is the way that it is, and much respect for that you're even practicing, you know. But in case people didn't know, there are a few different ways that you can celebrate the full moon. And I also want to talk to you about blood magic, because since we are on that, especially going into Crone grandmother moon, this is really important that it's a great opportunity for us to do that. Work on that blood magic. So for full moon, I love to do several different things. Like, of course, I put all my shit out on the windowsill, as much stuff as I can find. I put it on the windowsill.
Right?
And
that's the day where everything just looks like you're having a garage sale on your altar.
Oh, God. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. And the thing is, I start doing this about 2 days prior to the full moon. So you've got the 2 days prior, and then day number 3 is the full moon, because the next day it starts waning. So you put all your stuff out there, and the energy is growing with that full moon. So the full moon is a lot of cleansing, right? Rejuvenating. It's that mother. And so when you're putting your things under there a couple days prior, think about that energy that's really being put into there.
That's like, it's building, right?
Yes.
It's just like, you know, and speaking of the blood cycle, speaking of other metaphors, it's like that lining of your uterus. It's getting the fluffiest. It's getting ready to hold that egg, right? It's ovulate. That's that ovulation time.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's only one way that one thing I do for full moon.
Yes.
Pardon me. Another thing that I like to do is I've got tons of bottles of moon water. And I always make my moon water because every moon is different. And thank God I have Jennifer in my life, because when I do these moon waters, I always have her in the back of my head saying, okay, well, there's the moon and there's the sun, but where are the rest of the planets hanging out? What's going on? So what is this water really being charged with right now? And what are what are your intentions for this water? There are several different ways that you can use moon water. I use them in a lot of my spells. I use it to wash my face, to keep me young, especially.
Sorry, I had to
and
turn off my, I had to turn off my,
Wi-Fi, right?
I think my Wi-Fi was, I turned off my Wi-Fi and I'm just going down because I think it was interfering. Anyway, sorry about that. I'm sorry about that.
I have to do that
but
sometimes
so you use your moon water to wash your face?
Yeah, I use my rose quartz moon water to wash my face. I put it in, I have so many. And so I use it to take a goddess bath sometimes. You can use
I make my coffee with it.
Exactly.
I make my daughter's ramen with it sometimes.
Yeah. There's so many different things that you can use. You can use your moon water to make your nightly tea if you want to have a beautiful tea at night. So many different ways that moon water can be used. Now, people always ask, how do you collect moon water? Well, first of all, sometimes I fill up my pitcher and I'll put some stones in it or around it, and I put it out under the moon. There are also times when I go out with a big mouth jar. What the hell?
Sorry.
My son would love living over there. He loves trains, dude. Loves trains. So another thing I do is I take a big mouth jar outside and I go to the plants around my yard, like my holly trees and my ferns and my violets and my hydrangeas, and I just tap on those leaves and I collect that water in the jar.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then I put that underneath the moon, and that is some of the most beautiful, energetically magic water that you can collect.
Yeah, I mean, even like those clearing sprays, those that you make.
Yeah.
And if you make them for yourself, this is, a moon, like a spritz. Again, if you've put rose quartz in it, or even if you've just done it, and water has memory. It's been proven scientifically. But even if you don't believe in all of that, you don't want to, there's still like this ceremony about using your moon water
for ritual, for personal ritual.
Yeah.
Think about it this way. When you are physically, I know that's so loud.
I'm so sorry. I live right by a train. It's literally right there.
Don't worry about it. When you physically stop what you're doing to take the time to collect this moon water, to prep it with intention, with herbs, with stones, with oils, all of those things, when you take that time to do that, unknowingly sometimes you are creating beautiful ritual for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, just doing that is infusing it with love and intention.
Yes. Exactly.
Even if you don't know what the energies are like, and like you mentioned, I think it's lovely to kind of allow yourself to be open to the download of what it is that's coming through.
Right.
And you don't have to know all the things for that to happen.
Absolutely not.
In fact, it's just really good to clear the channel and just say, okay, what's coming through right now? And as you kind of do your preparations, just allow your mind to wander.
That's how I make my best sprays. That is how I make my best sprays. And don't get me wrong, I write down those recipes because I'm like, oh, right. Good.
Yeah, you got to catch them if
Oh, hell yeah. And
because you regret it if you don't. I've regretted
it's
a lot of.
It's just pure. and
goes away.
and then I upload them to my site after I make them. But you know, that is some of the water that I use in my sprays. It's magical moon water, and why wouldn't I collect so much, you know.
Yeah.
And my next one with the May 22, the new moon coming up, I'm making the back the fuck up spray, and
I love it.
it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah. Do you sell those on your website?
Yeah.
Do you send them places?
Yeah, I do, all over the U.S. And right now I'm having a 10% off sale on all of them. So
get your back the fuck up spray soon.
Exactly. Another
You
thing.
can take it out into Michigan. Sorry, I will stop politicking.
Back the fuck up.
Back the fuck up. Oh, what is that you're spraying? Oh, this is my back the fuck up spray. Just, you know, precautionary.
Another thing that I like to do for full moon is I do the release part too, but I really love to focus on the gratitude part of full moon.
Yeah.
Because I believe it's really important. What about you?
Yeah, you know, when there's it's always a feeling, right? Because I think every moon has a different,
Yes,
feeling energy. So but I would say that gratitude has been an important part of the practice. Rather than asking the moon to do something for me.
exactly.
Exactly. And part of my new moon is linked to that, because to some degree, when I set an intention for the new moon, I'm asking to receive wisdom, clarity, resources. And so that's kind of, so at the full moon, I'm usually at the point where I've done some work and I've recognized certain things in this waxing phase. And at the full moon, I just want to send gratitude and really capture what's real for me at that moment.
Right.
And sometimes it's very clear what the waning period will be about.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes it's really clear where it's like, yeah, this is what you have to work on. There's going to be work to let that go. And right. Sometimes it's like, we're going to take this away and you need to grieve. And sometimes, so it's responding to that cycle. Sometimes it's really nothing, of grand purpose. And yeah. So, yeah, that gratitude piece for me just, is like, I'm thankful, because I know that sometimes it takes that whole, from new moon in Gemini to full moon in Gemini, it's going to take 6 months for something to really come through.
Exactly.
So I stay in my kind of, and I just love her.
I know. I
love her. And recently my husband got a new telescope.
I know.
And so you're like, so we, and we didn't do it this last moon, even though it was beautiful out, because my husband had got like a new video game. So that night he was just like playing video games. And I generally don't sleep well full moon time.
No.
And it depends on the energy, but the last few full moons I've been up really late. So I just try to be gentle with myself and send gratitude. I will go and put a lot of my tools out on my altar. I have my altar facing the windowsill where the moon always rises.
Yeah.
And so I'll put all my tools out. Oftentimes I'll dedicate some things. If I know I'm going to use certain stuff for the new moon, I'll dedicate stuff during that time.
Like a certain.
I'm not always. Oh yeah, no. It's you can kind of consecrate your tools with purpose in the full moon.
Right.
And I'm not as consistent about moon water. Some cycles I'm just like super on it and it comes together, and I always feel like that's important, like that's what's meant to be for me. the main thing that I generally will do is go and look out at the moon, usually in my bare feet, and just try and be with her.
Right.
And if there's medicine that needs to be made, you know, I'll do that. So it just kind of depends. It really depends. I'm not a consistent witch, but I aspire to have some consistency. But I observe the moon as a teacher.
Well, another thing
You know.
that people can look at too is when you're looking at that full moon, you can look at the different aspects. Like, yes, what is the sign, you know? And attached to that sign, what is the element? And
Yes.
okay, so let's talk about the element of air with Gemini, right? So coming into, say, okay, I'll give you an example. Scorpio full moon, last moon, right?
Yeah.
That element was all about the water. So
deep water.
Yes, really deep water. So it was about diving deep within that soul, but it was also, like I said, about I felt sexual healing, right? So
Yeah.
I called in the goddess Lilith and embodied Lilith, and it was amazing. But one of the things
She is powerful.
Oh my God, one of the things that I did was, because the element was water, my letter of gratitude to the moon at that time was something like, thank you for illuminating the emotional healing that I need to work on and the emotional growth that I need to work on. And then my letter of release was, thank you for something like, thank you for allowing me to have my past experiences. So now I can have my experience of release, of emotional ties, emotional karma, things like that. So I love to work around the different elements and the different aspects of where the moon's at when I'm writing my gratitude and my release letters.
You know? I love that. I love that. Well, and you know, I generally will work with the astrological aspects of it, and you know, bring it to a really personal level, because even you know, I usually will post around, you know, the moon phases and have some kind of download. And this full moon in Scorpio particularly was very magnetic. You know, it was almost as if, I mean, quicksand comes to mind. You know, it was so magnetic.
Like once you went in, you couldn't get out.
The shadow pulled so many people under the surface, and usually, you know, usually people are like, you know, a great many people surf, right? They surf the waters. You know, they're very good at skirting and avoiding their emotions. People do this, right? In order to like fucking be in their real lives every day and get everything done and blah, 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 right? And the full moon in Scorpio this time was like, with everything retrograding and like all this, or starting to retrograde, everything was in its pre-shadow. You know, I think it was just like people were kind of skirting along, and then all of a sudden it was like, talk about Shark Week. It was like, it's like, you know, all of a sudden something pulls you fucking down. And I talked to so many people who were really struggling through that energy. And, you know, for me, you know, I look at my chart and I say, oh, well, what house is it in? You know, and this is part of this work with the Astrologic Lab that I'm creating. But I look at my chart and I say, oh, okay, so it's literally happening in my 6th house, you know, which of course makes sense. And, you know, so for me, you know, I talked about mud a lot. You know, for me, it was a very muddy one because I'm so earthy. I try to stay grounded. And that full moon time for me was so slippery and muddy and like, and so yeah, the elements of it are like interactive with me,
right?
Personally, and so yeah, I let it kind of download that way.
I think, especially with this past Scorpio full moon, the element of flow was really not allowed by people, and not like intentionally, you know, but
No.
everybody's so used to controlling their lives, controlling their emotions.
Yeah.
Even those surfers on top,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? They're used to controlling that wave, you know?
They're used to kind of navigating in a way.
Exactly. And so when that quicksand comes in, when that mud comes in, instead of sliding on down the hill and playing with it,
Yeah.
it's that fight when you're
Yeah,
swimming.
yes. And I spoke to so many people who said that, you know, they were just giving into, you know, they're going to have they had some shit days. They're like, wow, I'm going to get 0 done today.
Right.
And, you know, most of last week, you know, people were kind of, the energy was still trying to kind of gain ground again. But yeah, sitting in the shadow work was definitely part of it. And like you said, you know, that sexual healing is very much, you know, womb work is deep work. It's layer upon layer, and
Yeah.
it's important to sit with it.
Another thing that full moon helps me acknowledge is, you know how when you set an intention, say at Gemini new moon, and you know this intention is going to take a bit, so you work until Gemini full moon, right?
Yeah.
So I do that too. And so when that full moon comes in, say it's my designated full moon, when that full moon comes in, it also helps, it also illuminates, okay, there's still some crumbs on the floor. There's still some cobwebs in the corner.
Yeah.
There's still a few tweaks that we need to make to this. So let's continue on and know that it's okay to do that. You know, let's clean up this mess a little bit. So when new moon comes into play, so you have all that waning moon to continue to clean up and release, right?
Yeah.
And when new moon comes into play, then your mind is clear, your spirit is as clear as it's going to be. Make peace with the fact that you didn't complete that one goal yet and you're still working on it.
Yeah.
And then new moon comes into play and you're like, you know what? Okay, so I'm going to plant the seeds of intention to continue to guide me down this path, to continue to give me strength, continue to give me message as to what I need to work on more.
Be open to, you know, at new moon time too, it's like, yes, because during this time, this waning moon, especially this last week before the new moon, it's so important to, like you say, kind of clean up the mess. And that has to do with your thinking. Clean up your thinking.
Yeah.
You know, any of the things that you're telling yourself that aren't useful. You know, this term that everybody uses, like, you know, release what's not serving. You know, I think a lot of us think of like, oh, well, I got to get rid of that toxic friendship, or I got to tell that person off, or I got to take my power back from whatever. A lot of times it's actually just our own thinking, our own stories, things that are like, you know, the can'ts, the shoulds, the nevers, the alwayses.
And think about
and especially as we get to our new moon in Gemini, it's like clean up your thinking.
Right.
To get prepared for new ideas to come in.
And it's always easier to get rid of that external shit than it is to get rid of the internal shit.
Yeah.
And like you say, with Gemini new moon coming in, it is really imperative to get that mind clear and as much at peace as you possibly can.
Yeah.
So you can receive those messages.
Yes. Yeah. The mental aspect of Gemini cannot be under emphasized. I mean, it's just, or overemphasized. It's just really, really important. Your mind needs clarity.
Yes.
And with Venus retrograding there while this new moon is happening, while the sun's there, you know, it's like, what vital force creates a sense of value and self-worth within you in order to make those really high vibe intentions that you're going to set for, you know, a whole 6-month Gemini cycle.
Correct.
You know, not just this moon cycle, not just this Gemini new moon, but all the way through to the full moon in Gemini, which happens in the fall.
Right. I have given my students the homework of writing at least 10 self-positive affirmations, so they can look at them. Yeah. So, you know, once you it's like creating a habit. Once you look at yourself every day in the mirror, brushing your teeth, you're seeing these affirmations, pretty soon you're going to build upon those affirmations. And it's going to be commonplace that you talk to yourself. And even when you screw up, you're not going to call yourself a dumbass. You're going to say, oh, you know what? Let's do this a little bit differently next time.
Yeah.
You know? What did I learn? You know?
Yeah, I think it's really important to, especially the full moon or the new moon in Gemini, to, again, like, if you have thought goals, new belief goals, these are really good times for those affirmations.
Agreed.
And if you can't get to the, you know, it has to be a new belief, right? Trying on new beliefs. One of my teachers talks about, you tried on new beliefs like a wardrobe, right? And so you think of your beliefs as wardrobe, and you go through it just like when you go through your closet. You say, does this light me up? Do I love this? Do I feel good in this? And if the answer is no, let it go. Toss it out. If you do not feel like a fucking goddess inside your mind, look at those thoughts that tell you that you're less than anything.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
And sometimes when you're really deep in it, you know, if you're suffering still from thoughts that kind of emerge during the Scorpio full moon, especially, you know, it helps you to see that shadow, and you can kind of love yourself through understanding that we all have these darknesses. We all have these deep parts of us that feel very, you know, we're ashamed of things, we're regretful of things, or we're feeling we're feeling like an imposter, or we feel like we're not good enough for something. But notice where that comes from. Notice those lies that come in your brain. And, you know, especially with Mercury retrograde around the corner and Venus retrograding through there, it's a real call before Mercury retrograde to review your values, your self-worth.
And think about
you know, pull in those pieces of self-worth.
Yeah, and think about it as you are acknowledging that deepness from the Scorpio full moon. You're cleaning up during this waning moon, going into grandmother moon. Mm-hmm. Then you have new moon coming up. Think about writing those affirmations based upon I really regret doing that. You know what I'm saying? Or I forgive myself.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
You know,
not focusing on the regret per se, but yeah, like when it comes up, remind yourself that you alone get to forgive. Exactly. Bring that forgiveness field to it.
Exactly.
And, you know, and remind yourself that you're worth forgiving.
Right.
You're worth new beliefs. You're worth all of the work that you'll do to allow yourself to receive new blessings, new beliefs.
And I really think that is very important when memories like that pop up and they bring feelings of guilt, regret, anxiety, things like that. Sit down and write an affirmation or 3 of positivity for you to help you move forward with that in release of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And if the affirmation doesn't feel right, a good neutral statement can always help.
Yeah.
So like if, you know, there was always, if you're like, I'm an incredible person, doesn't feel right, then say, I'm a person
today.
I'm a person.
Do my best.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's true. You know, you got to find this bridge to get yourself. And so, yeah, a series of affirmations is really powerful work. So, and if there's kids in your life, it works with them too. And it's so good.
It really does. So let's talk about this grandmother moon really quick.
Yeah.
Grandmother moon.
Yeah, because we got like 8 minutes.
I know. Grandmother moon's coming into play, and we talked about blood magic. And remember, grandmother moon is that crone phase. That's that deepest phase of moon that you can possibly be in. That's that night that you really do release work. And I love doing karmic release work on that night. So cutting karmic cords. Yeah. So especially if you have this blood magic going on, you can use a little bit of your blood to cut those cords, really cut that connection, really release it. And think about it this way. If you're having your period during dark moon, hello, that's the most extreme kind of release that you could possibly have, you know? So it's pretty amazing that the menstruation would come during that time, because it's not only allowing you to physically release, but it's totally
I know.
detoxifying the entire body, you know?
Yes. Well, and you know, I was looking, there's a visual of like your uterus not menstruating and your uterus menstruating, you know, and I feel that. But it's, you know, I also, practical magic, here we go. I also have a huge mole problem in my yard. There are moles everywhere. And I was talking to my friend the other day and I was like, yeah, when Seth was young, I used to have him pee in the garden. It would help. I don't know why I haven't been collecting my own urine as an adult woman and pouring it in my garden, but now I'm bleeding and I'm like, hell yeah, I'm gonna fucking pour blood all over
That's
my
awesome.
medicinal herb garden and
There's
be like, you know.
There's so many different ways that you can use blood magic, but I really believe that full moon, dark moon, and new moon are the best times to use it, and you can use it differently for
Yeah.
each one. So, do you want to draw cards for new moon?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Let me see, which ones do I want to use?
We still probably have like 10 minutes because we did come on late.
Yeah, I think we came on late, so.
Are we gonna pull individual cards or just like general?
Well, I say at first we pull general cards for new moon, and
Yeah, and if anybody wants a card, you can use the question
right.
Thing. There's a question square at the bottom, and you can ask a question for your new moon or drop a couple emojis or something in that question box.
Yes.
But that'll help us. It'll come up on the screen.
So I am going to use my Whispers of Lord Ganesha today, and you know Lord Ganesha is all about getting over those obstacles.
Obstacles. That's why my whole Taurus new moon season was overcoming.
Right.
So I was in a long cycle, and actually I bled 3 times during that time.
That's awesome.
I built my new moon altar for Taurus at the full moon in Libra. And then I bled right after the new moon in Taurus, and I bled right after the full moon. Or no, I'm sorry, the full moon in Libra and then the new moon in Taurus. And now I'm having my blood again for the new moon. So I feel like that complete cycle.
Yeah. And if that's not telling you that you are really doing some soul release work, I don't know what is, baby.
Which, by the way, yeah, like I'm in my 12th house solar season right now. And so, yeah, I'm about to, like, June 18th is right before solstice, and I'm having my resurrection day. I'm just, yeah, shit is going down, and I'm just kind of, I'm in it. I'm not surfing on the surface. I'm surfing on the bottom.
Correct. So my intention for this draw today is what obstacles do we need to overcome so we can have that clarity of mind and spirit as we go into the new moon?
Yeah, I love that.
Still a few days to work on it, so.
Yes. And remember, release can feel like surrendering. Don't overthink the feeling of, you know, release. Sometimes it's a simple act of acceptance and surrender. So yeah, if you're just coming on, it's great. We're going to pull some cards for the new moon. If you want one, click the question. We already have one, so we'll do those. We're going to do a general first. I'm using the tarot, the Wild Unknown Tarot. And if we get cut off, which we will in probably like 10 minutes, we'll come back at least for a little.
Just to pull some more cards.
Yeah. So the overcoming of obstacles.
Right. So we've got a few more days in this waning.
Yeah.
So Lord Ganesha is going to tell us what kind of tools we can use to overcome the remainder of any obstacles that we have, so our mind and our spirit can be clear and free to receive message.
Yes, and my deck is the Wild Unknown Tarot. I went back to my good old
I love it.
And this is going to tell us the shadow that we need to accept, or the grief we need to process.
Ah, yes, I like that. I like that a lot.
That's what's happening with this deck right now. So, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay, so general. Okay. Father of Wands. So this is, of course, the traditional King of Wands. And when we do the shadow work, I mean, it's so funny. This to me is so that kind of masculine energy that can be really dominating. And we are in general, you know, healing that part of ourselves, the masculine part that wants to dominate and control the creative process, right? Because it's like, I know how to create, I'm very good at this. And so it's very powerful creator. But notice how that pace can exhaust and deplete the feminine. So I think we're in this process of really releasing. And when you think about that sexual healing, this is really making sure you know whose energy is inside your body,
Right.
and what it is that you've been programmed to believe about yourself and your worth based on your ability to produce something that someone else sees value in.
Correct.
Right? So this is like the patriarchy a little bit. So looking at those pieces that have really actually hurt you, and transforming it. Again, the Wands is always about action and transformation. So you're going to want to process that somehow through creative work, through writing, through drawing, through making a garden.
Yeah, for sure. Mine is inner knowing.
I love it.
So the inner knowing is all about remembering that you have a place inside you that holds your most significant answers. And without that clarity, you're not going to be able to see it, right? So still cleaning up. Within each of us lies our intuitive knowing. Motivation and ideas are present, yet untapped in this space within us. There's the motivation, that Father of Wands. That motivation to make that change, to do that work. Exactly.
And the new moon in Gemini coming is like, clear your mind.
The spark of the divine waits patiently for us to tune in and retrieve our guidance. So this is a time of soul searching. So this couldn't be, our cards couldn't be any more.
I know. I love that.
We've got these few days where the full moon, it's getting smaller. We're heading more in, more introspective.
Yeah.
The emotional release comes with doing that work, acknowledging that work, and doing that work. So we can clear out, or at least bring some peace to the fact that, okay, I still have some work to do. So we can clearly receive that message of, actually, so we can clearly receive that illumination of message that already lives within us, that has been so blocked so far.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. We have two questions.
Okay.
First one is Laura. Do you see it? This is her. She's got tornado, new moon, dragon. And she's instructed me to take all of the swords out of my deck.
I know. So basically it's a shit show going on. And
right?
So
Laura, do you want to pull first, or I'll pull first?
I'm still going to use my Lord Ganesha one for that.
Yeah, I'm going to use this deck. I got Temperance for you, babe.
Nice.
So this is this part of alchemy where you add a little, you take a little away. So we're not making big sweeping changes and saying like, I have to throw out everything and start anew. This is actually saying you have been working your magic, and it's really just fine tuning. So noticing that new moon energy And that full moon last, that full moon in Scorpio, whatever that illuminated, noticing where you need to dial yourself back just a bit or where you need to go all in a little more, right? So noticing what makes you feel really good and finding that sweet spot, that's what is coming through right now. And that's karmic for you. This is the major arcana, so you're not fucking around anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got Splendor, which once again goes along with, I know it's gorgeous, right? So I got Splendor, and Splendor talks about seek and honor the beauty and splendor that is in and around you. So it kind of goes hand in hand with Jennifer's card. If we're not already noticing the beauty that we are gifted with, we're not receiving. We're not receiving, because there's beauty everywhere. And if we are blocking that vision to see it, then we're not allowing ourselves to receive. So think about that. Take notice of everything around you and take notice of that beauty so you can fill your heart with that beauty. And
and Venus in retrograde is helping you to communicate that.
Yes.
So listen in. And you're in my lab, so you know where that stuff is happening too. So looking at that aspect of your life.
Dude, that astrolab is poop. I love it.
Dude, I'm so excited. I have so much editing to do. We tried to stay on course yesterday, but I gotta chunk that shit up. Love you, Laura. Thank you. Okay, one more.
Okay.
Heidi says, if card pull, I'd love a card. Career building support. Okay, I got it popping out. So I grabbed the Mother of Swords for you, Heidi. So in the Wild Unknown Tarot especially, the Mother of Swords takes no shit, and she doesn't even take a list of those names. Like, she could give zero fucks about the thoughts and opinions of others, because she is this mentally sharp and intuitive person who takes action when it's needed, and nothing more and nothing less. Right. And so this is really about cleaning up the shoulds of what needs, like what people might say for you to do, and really follow, of course, your intuition and take action. It's time to take action now on the really clear vision. Yes. That you have been building, and to trust the scrutiny that has been that has been going on, because Mother energy is not, she's not some, she's there for it. She's here for you. And so she's been helping you to whittle out the unnecessary. Right. So now it's time to take action on that vision. Okay. I got concentrate. So I love how these cards are just talking. I know. Concentration and the Mother of Swords is like, what? I know. Yeah. So the concentration is all about utilizing the tools, resources, and skills that are already available to you. Yeah. And Ganesha will support you with inspired ways to solve problems. You can benefit from inventive forces if you can maintain your power and work with awareness and focus. So, dude, that's literally what the Mother of Swords totally does. So especially with swords being that air element, that mind element, you know what I mean? Yes. So this is really talking about getting into your mind, but not allowing yourself to overthink things about, okay, what's wrong with my mind? Yeah. It's about working around the problem, because there's always a workaround. And ask your mind really good questions. Yeah. Exactly. And when you have two cards in the mind realm like this is telling you, okay, you know this workaround, just dig in a little bit deeper. You've got this, and use those wonderful tools that have been gifted to you. Yep. Yep. And stop overanalyzing or overthinking, because you're a tuned instrument. Your mind is there. You've got it. Exactly. So we've got 53 seconds remaining. Okay. We don't have any more questions in there. But I'm sure, do we want to come back and do more cards? We can come back and do more cards. You know, I love doing cards. I know, me too. So you guys, if you want a card, come back, and right away
Put
comment.
your comment in there.
Put your question in there, okay? We'll be back in a second.
All
Back after this break.